10 cents may not sound like a lot until you ask Oregonians about the bottle bill.
I got shortchanged. I got shortchanged.
Even more so when they're pretty sure they didn't get back what they thought they should.
And I thought, well, something's kind of fishy here.
With bottle deposit complaints piling up, we piled up hundreds of empties to put the system to the test and find out why some people might actually be getting shortchanged.
We see this all the time.
And why are so many people seeing red over these red porta potties? And a word to our 1,000th Instagram follower, whoever you might be. Here's the story.
I love that music. I just do. I do. I'm glad it's back. We experimented a little bit earlier this week. I like that music too. I love this music. Hey, Instagram, Facebook, email, Twitter, lots of ways to get a hold of us. We check it all. I'm Dan Haggerty. Hi, welcome to the story. And don't forget to use that hashtag, HeyDan. Let's get started. Now, tonight's big story is about Oregon's bottle drop system and whether it's shortchanging people, the people who use it. Now, it did require a bit of patience, I think, on your part to finally get to actually see this story. At first, we advertised that we'd be airing it yesterday, but then Sunday Night Football was rescheduled to yesterday, so we couldn't air it yesterday. But then Sunday Night Football was rescheduled to today. Really what I'm trying to say here is our big Tuesday special story and Sunday Night Football were both rescheduled to Wednesday because it's 2020 and that's just something we have to deal with. Now, I do want to offer a hearty apology to viewer Barbara Coughlin, who messaged us and said, drop the ball on the bottle drop story. I did like how she phrased that. I will watch, she said, but don't like days of teasers, then a no-show. Barbara, we don't like that either. I'm sorry that we had to do it, but this is the way kind of the chips fell. But I'm glad to see that those promos apparently work a little better than I thought they did. Anyway, you've waited long enough. The issue of the big story tonight are a stack of complaints against Oregon's bottle drop system. Apparently, a bunch of people felt like, again, they were getting shortchanged 10 cents at a time. So, Kai Laboshi put the system to the test with the help of a whole lot of empties.
People in Oregon recycle. It's in our DNA.
I know why most bottlers in Oregon may well be on my side.
Oregon passed the very first bottle bill almost 50 years ago.
We can do better. Our past and our future demand that we do better.
And since then, the program has only expanded. Bottles and cans are worth more, 10 cents deposit, and green bags are used to refund them. Bottle drop allows people to fill up a bag, drop it off, and have it counted for them.
They kind of shorted me, I guess.
But these days, not everyone is celebrating this iconic recycling program.
And I thought, well, something's kind of fishy here, so...
Instead, I've heard a lot of complaints.
I got shortchanged. I got shortchanged.
Online reviews on Yelp, Google, Facebook, and the Better Business Bureau are filled with angry posts from people who claim they didn't get credit for all their bottles and cans.
But yeah, everybody has this issue.
And in some cases, customers complain entire bags went missing.
They would credit one bag, not the other.
Now, it may not seem like much, but these bottles and cans, they add up.
$6 to somebody is huge if they don't have anything.
I'm on Social Security and VA disability, so that little bit helps.
So to find out for myself, I tested the system with a bunch of old cans and bottles. Each green bag was filled with 80 containers.
76, 77, 80.
Then I dropped them off across town at different bottle drop sites, including grocery stores and a bottle drop redemption center. When they were all counted, a couple of the bags came up short, but others counted more cans and bottles than I returned. In total, of the 400 cans returned, I got credit for 404 cans. So why the confusion? To find out, I went to go visit the operation responsible for counting all these cans and bottles, the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative.
When people see what they perceive as being an undercount, what's going on?
There can be a number of things that happen. The biggest factor by far is that the bag wasn't cinched tightly. And so we see this all the time. People will be putting their bags in and there's containers spilling out the top.
Jules Bailey is the Chief Stewardship Officer. He says if customers complain about counting issues, there's usually an explanation, and they'll fix it.
The biggest reason that a bag goes missing is frankly people forgetting to put the stickers on the bag. That happens quite a bit.
And he's so confident in the counting process, he took me inside the Clackamas plant.
This is where we process the green bags over here.
Where it's not people counting cans and bottles, but computers.
We are very confident that these bags are processed and counted over 99% correctly.
Once a green bag is scanned and dumped out, a computer sensor just needs a fraction of a container to recognize whether it's a returnable bottle or can. Then that credit is added to your bottle drop account. For now, older, less sophisticated counting equipment is still being used at bottle drop redemption centers. But all along the way, images of your green bag are being captured.
We have video systems in place so we can go take a look at exactly what happened with those bags.
Bottle drop allows a margin of error of plus or minus 2 containers per bag. Our test fell within that margin. Bailey explained the reason our counts were off is because old equipment at bottle drop redemption centers may have undercounted, while newer, more sophisticated machines are calibrated to overcount, giving customers the benefit of the doubt. A recent audit by the Secretary of State's office called for greater transparency, explaining customers should be able to see a detailed accounting of returned containers, which Bailey said is already in the works. Soon, customers will be able to see details of every bag count and credit on their bottle drop account. And eventually, you'll even see images of your containers being counted. These green bags are symbolic because we recycle, but they also represent money that Oregonians paid for a deposit and deserve to have counted accurately.
Okay, let's talk to Kyle Aboshi here for just a minute. Kyle, you had 400 cans to do this story with. Drinking lots of Sprite, are you?
Yeah. We're not messing around here at the Aboshi household. A lot of sparkling water, actually.
Look, we're in a pandemic. I understand. So, clearly, though, still a lot of people don't feel like they are getting the bottles and cans counted that they are actually turning in. Do they have any recourse?
Well, really, the customer, if you don't feel like you're getting the proper count, you need to call Bottle Drop and say, listen, it's not right. Their general theory is, listen, the customer is always right. So they hope to make good on that. If there is a question, they will credit your account. But it really is important that you act on your own behalf.
Now, so this story, a lot of people may not know, we kind of postponed this for a night or two because of some NFL scheduling issues and things, but we were getting a ton of emails, people saying, hey, where's this Bottle Drop story? I can't wait to see it, because I think they feel like too much of the responsibility is being put on them to make sure everything is correct, not necessarily the Bottle Drop program.
And a fair criticism. Bottle Drop says, listen, it's kind of like your banking account. If you deposit money, you should go back and check your account to make sure that money is there. Just like if you withdraw money, you should check your account regularly. Additionally, they just rolled out this new, more detailed screen on your account where you can actually see for each and every bag how many cans or bottles were counted. They hope it's greater accountability and much better transparency.
Got it. Kyle Aboshi, thank you.
Oregon's bottle bill is turning 50 next year, and it's rare for a piece of legislation to get as much attention as it has. So, how did we get here? When Oregon leaders passed the bill in 1971, it started as a litter control measure. It was the first of its kind in the United States. At the time, bottles made up about 40% of litter. But as the decade wore on, Oregon's Department of Environmental Quality said that number dropped to under 11% by 1973, then just 6% by 1979. DEQ attributed that drop to the bottle bill. A study in 2006 found states with similar bills recycled on average 33% of their containers. Over time, it's expanded 3 times. In 2007, when water bottles were allowed, and then in 2011, when leaders approved doubling the deposit from 5 cents to 10 cents if they hit certain benchmarks, which they did by 2017. Last year, about 86% of all cans and bottles were returned, but that 14% that weren't amount to millions of dollars in unclaimed deposits. The state wants to use that money to pay for underfunded projects, but the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative says they need that money.
100% of all unredeemed deposits are being spent on trucks and recycling facilities and machines and employees and all of the things that go into making this system work.
Whatever ends up happening, today, 9 other states have similar bottle bills on the books, and Oregon paved the way with recycled glass. And that's how we got here.
Now, you do have to wonder if more people are maybe using bottles and cans and things like that and making those returns, since restaurants and bars can't serve people. Now, before the governor's 2-week freeze, you might remember we heard from the co-owners of Botanist, a bar in the Pearl, and they said money was so tight, things were so critical for them at that point, that they were actually going to go ahead and break the OLCC rules and start serving cocktails to go, which is something Oregon still does not allow, while Washington does.
You know, you're asking us as a business to limp along and do hard things. We also are asking you guys to do hard things as well.
But according to an article in the Willamette Week that we think is worth your time, the Botanist never actually went through with its plan. Journalist Jason Cohen reporting, quote, the owners called off the protest because simply announcing their intent raised awareness of the issue and because they could have lost their liquor license. Now, the rest of the story is a really kind of smart look at the current state of liquor laws on both sides of the Columbia. It's in the Willamette Week right now. We really think it is worth your time. Now, I do want to take a minute right now and talk about something that is pretty tragic that happened last night. The wife of Oregon politician and Salem oncologist Dr. Bud Pierce was hit and killed by an SUV. It happened right after, coincidentally, very strangely, right after he announced his second run for governor. Now, you probably remember Bud Pierce. He ran as a Republican against Kate Brown back in 2016. His wife, Selma Pierce, also was well known in Oregon's political scene. She ran for the Oregon House twice, first in 2018 and then again just last month. She was also a retired dentist and a well-known community leader. That's her there. Police say she was out for a walk last night. She was with a family member. They were in Salem. We don't know a ton of details about exactly what happened. We know she stepped into the road at some point and was hit. The other person who was with her was not hurt. The driver stopped, pulled over, cooperated with police. No one's been arrested. That's kind of what we know. I mean, last night, Bud Pierce wrote this on his Facebook page, and it really, I mean, it is heartbreaking stuff. I'll read it for you here. He says, Selma Pierce, the glue of the Pierce family, an angel of a person, the only woman that I have ever loved, died this evening in a sudden and tragic accident. We cannot believe that she has left us, but we are comforted in the knowledge that she is with God and we will see her again. So it's clear that Selma was beloved by a lot of people. We're seeing a lot of folks reach out from across the aisle. Then again, you know, who really cares about politics in a tragedy like this? Senate President Peter Courtney said, Selma was a dear person who always put others before herself. She cared deeply for those in need. Selma loved to smile and always searched for ways to make life better for others. She was very devoted to her family. I can't imagine Salem without her. And Governor Brown also saying, Dan and I extend our sincere condolences to the Pierce family on their tremendous and sudden loss of Selma. They are in our thoughts during this difficult time. Now, like I said, Bud Pierce really just announced his candidacy for governor on Monday. He was all over the news, and then this happens. He had just written a list of all the accomplishments that he wants to do as governor on his Facebook page. And at this point, we're not really sure what all of this is going to mean for his plans moving forward if he continues, if he wants to continue this journey to be governor. But we're going to keep tabs on it, okay? The race is in 2022. I know that it's still 2 years away, but Governor Brown is term limited. She's not going to be able to run again. So we expect a lot of Democrats to have their eye on her seat and a lot of Republicans to step up and say that they're going to run as well. As for Bud Pierce and his family, our condolences.
We spent most of 2020 banging pots and pans together every afternoon to thank healthcare workers.
Hey, thank you, everybody!
But, you know, banging pots and pans doesn't actually fund hospitals. And now Governor Brown says the state needs to make cuts to make ends meet.
It's a budget built on sacrifice and hard choices.
You can probably guess how hospitals feel about that. But next, we ask anyway, when the story continues.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Story. Thanks to everyone writing in using that hashtag HeyDan or emailing us at thestory@kgw.com. We've been getting so much feedback lately. Maybe it's darker outside and more people are inside watching the news, wanting to tweet away and tell us what they're thinking, and we love it. So I'm glad. It always makes for a fun ending of the show too when I get to read a couple of them. So keep them coming. We have an update for you right now to a story that got a ton of traction on our website. You probably saw something about it. It's about these red porta potties that you've been seeing all over the Portland area. They popped up a few months months ago. There are like more than 100 of them out there. They're tough to miss. So here's the thing. On this show, as we just said, on the story, we get a ton of feedback, and we're used to that sort of thing. And to be honest, most of it is polite. Some of it is, let's just say, not polite. It comes with the gig. We get that. But in this case, it's the city that's getting a lot of feedback on those porta potties. And some of it is so angry and so destructive, like literally destroying these things, that they're spending thousands to clean things up and, let's say, make some tweaks. Here's Maggie Vespa.
Portland's red porta potties might as well be bullseyes. That's according to city officials, one of whom got this voicemail.
Excuse me, ma'am, but what the hell, heaven or purgatory, is that red thing doing in front of my church?
A rep for the city says that was tame. Staff are getting flooded with angry voicemails and emails about these porta potties, a lot of them laced with profanity. The red thing that woman was referring to, any one of just over 100 red porta potties placed throughout the city in September, part of an effort by officials to make sure Portland's homeless have access to clean restrooms and places to wash their hands. This amid a pandemic when most businesses, libraries, or public spaces with restrooms are closed. The program was supposed to cost the city $75,000 a month. Clearly, it's not going over well.
Really upset.
A rep for the city confirmed the porta potties are being vandalized, tipped over, and flat out stolen. Repairs often cost hundreds of dollars per incident. Replacing them costs $650 each. Staff have had to do that about 30 times. The issue? Some of these were placed near homeless camps, but not all of them. Others are in neighborhoods, placed there, staff say, because data shows the area is lacking in public restroom spaces. But staff say neighbors often hate the optics and worry camps will form around the porta potties. Back in October, KGW spoke to one woman who felt for campers but didn't understand why the porta potty was in her neighborhood.
What it's about is putting the resources where they are most needed.
So now the city is spending even more money to protect these porta potties by donning each one with these signs. They read, "This is more than a bathroom. It's also a human right." Total cost for printing and installation, $7,500. One staffer told us the city is reevaluating the placement of these porta potties. Some may be moved within weeks. Either way, they expect things to die down eventually.
And mostly what I've seen that is a fear response that people have with their community. They're concerned about their families, they're concerned about the environment. And when we are able to show over a period of time, hey, this area is actually providing a resource for everyone, people tend to be able to calm down a lot more.
Staff added officials haven't decided yet if these will remain once the pandemic is done. Maggie Vespa, KGW News.
Governor Brown wants to cut money from our hospitals. She says Oregon is facing a $718 million gap in the budget for the Oregon Health Plan. That's our state's version of Medicare. The reason for that gap are the tens of thousands of additional Oregonians, people signing up because of COVID and financial struggles. But the head of the Oregon Association of Hospitals and Health Systems took almost no time at all, blasting the governor's proposal. She doesn't like it. It brings us to our quote of the day from OAHHS President Becky Hultberg, saying, quote, "These cuts cannot be justified." And she stressed how hospitalizations are rising, and now is not the time to cut funding to health care. The governor's office responded to Hultberg in a statement saying, with 150,000 Oregonians joining the Oregon Health Plan rolls since the pandemic, we cannot protect the Oregon Health Plan, cut taxes, and not pursue any cost savings in the healthcare system all at once. I spoke earlier with Hultberg about her statement and about the state of Oregon hospitals.
Give me kind of a glimpse into your thoughts while you were listening to the budget announcement or the proposed budget announcement.
I think the best way I could describe the budget announcement from a hospital perspective is deeply troubling. We knew that there would be a shortfall in the Oregon Health Plan, so we expected some cuts, but the magnitude of the cuts targeted at hospitals was really quite shocking.
It was shocking. So were you surprised when you when you heard kind of what she has planned, the governor?
We were surprised. There were several places in the budget that hospitals were cut directly. There was a funding rate cut for hospitals that serve the Medicaid program. There were cuts to graduate medical education, which supports physician training. There were cuts to the Oregon Coordinated Care Organizations, which support the Medicaid plan. So there were really cuts throughout the budget that will directly affect hospitals. And that, I think, was the shocking part. It's just the magnitude of the total cuts.
Was it difficult, or is it difficult to not take this personally in a way, considering the strain on and the difficult daily life of a lot of people in the medical field right now?
The timing of this makes it really hard. We are faced with the highest level of COVID hospitalizations that we've had during the pandemic. Our workforce is stressed. People are exhausted. I don't want to say it's easy to take it personally, because it's not. We understand these are not personal decisions, but yet they are decisions that affect morale. And this is a really unfortunate time for the governor to choose, essentially, to cut revenue to hospitals.
If you were to combine the hospitals that are going to be losing that money, what is their combined revenue?
That is not a figure that I have at the top of my head.
Is it?
And I think $100 million is a floor. It is not. We have not finished analyzing the cuts in this budget, so we can't even tell you with certainty how much over $100 million it will be, but we know it will be well over that.
All right, I kind of want to explain the reason that I asked her that last question there. You heard her say hospitals are expecting at least $100 million to be hit from these proposed cuts, but it could be more. It's a really big number, $100 million. But I think it needs context, right? And to explain exactly why. If I told you that I lost $10 and I only had $12, that's a lot. I'm in a lot of trouble. But if I told you I lost $10 and I'm a millionaire, the stakes are a little bit different. Now, Haltberg told me that she's going to share some more figures with me about kind of the plight of our hospitals in this time of COVID. To give it some more context, I will pass that along as soon as I hear back. Hey, I've got a message for our 1,000th follower on Instagram. It's a day late, but I hope you accept it. Plus, we're going to read some feedback and a few questions when we finish the story. Hope you stick around. We want you to do one thing more than anything else tonight, and that's to follow us on Instagram at @TheStoryKGW, because we really want to get to that 1,000 follower mark. It's an ego thing. All right, I have to have it. Who knows, too, if you are the 1,000th follower, maybe we might give you a shout out or something. Did I say that? I said that. I did say that. And then I didn't follow through. So, sorry. But in my defense, after saying that, we got a swarm of like more than 200 Instagram followers, which was great. So it's kind of tough to keep track when they all come in at once, but I think one of you did end up keeping track for us. Michael Thacker tweeted us a screenshot showing himself becoming the 1,000th follower on The Story KGW on Instagram and writing, "Bummed. Dan said he would give a shout out to the 1,000th follower on Insta, but didn't. Boo." Well, Michael, I hope this makes up for it. Take that boo back, put it back in your pocket, save it for someone else. And congratulations for being the 1,000th follower. I'm actually congratulating myself because I feel accomplished now. We don't have a prize for you, unfortunately, but hopefully this love and gratitude is prize enough. It's not. You wanted an actual prize? Moving on, some other comments here. Julianne said, "Ugh, intro music is so annoying. We don't mind the rest of the show, but the intro, it sounds like a trip to Chuck E. Cheese." See, it sounds like an insult, but then it turns into a compliment, so I don't really know how to read that. And then Nick Gross said, "I will not stand for this bottle drop slander. We've never had problems. We love it. And if people have issues, don't use it." It is a great system, okay? And I don't think that was the point of the story, but we don't want people not to use it. We want people to use it because we want people to recycle. That's the whole point of the incentive. And we also have to be able to check in on these things and make sure that they're all running properly and do stories on them to let everybody know that here's the current state of affairs when it comes to these public entities and the things that we rely on. And then Judy Weimer said, "Rural hospitals are already severely stretched. Further cuts will cause closures, leaving rural residents who are older, sicker, and poorer without care." And you're exactly right. And if you remember very early on in the pandemic, before federal assistance came through, there were some hospitals that were literally a week or more or less away from actually having to shut down, and it was a very scary time. I asked some questions too. We want to do some follow-ups about how the hospitals can kind of help each other, because some of them aren't in that boat. Some of them are still doing well enough. So we're going to continue this coverage. Keep those questions coming. Keep using that hashtag HeyDan, and we'll keep doing the story as long as they let us. That's it for tonight. I'll see you back here tomorrow.